2024. Anyone that watched us in 2023 and 22 will see that we displayed as a 7-ship and 8-ship respectively. However, for 2024 we are back to our full 9-ship complement of aircraft, our full display, and back to our Diamond 9 formation, which is as said, the team arriving in our world famous Diamond 9 and our trademark red, white and blue outside the back. As they pull up, you can really see that platform of our trademark Diamond 9. As the white smoke comes on, and Reds 8 and 9 make their way left and right to change the shape from Diamond 9 into 9 Arrow. The team arrive at around about 450 miles per hour. They'll reach a height of about 5,500 to 6,000 feet over the top of that loop, before Red 1 brings them down to our minimum altitude over the sea, which is about 300 feet, and then pushes them around to the left. Leading the team this year, we have a new Red 1, a new team leader for 2024. That's squad leader John Bond, known as Bundy. He's been in the Red Arrows 5 years before. Previously, he took a year out in 2023 before joining us as the team leader for 2024. 6 and 7 split at the back there. Coming in from the left, the smoke comes on for Big Vixen. Bundy is a former Typhoon pilot and a former qualified flying instructor on the Tucano, where he was the Tucano display pilot in 2012. There are actually 11 pilots on the Red Arrows. You have Reds 1 through 9 displaying for you today. And then myself, Red 10, former Tornado GR4 pilot, former qualified flying instructor on the Hawk Team Mark II. I fly the spare jet everywhere and also do some motor chasing. But of course, we're commanded by Wing Commander Annie Collins, Red 11. Former Tornado GR4 pilot, and including the F1 regular one today to the Royal Australian Air Force. The team changed formation and in celebration of tribute to all those participants of D-Day earlier this year, we celebrated the 80th anniversary. To pay tribute and commemorate all that took part, this is Spitfire. On the right of Red 1 is Red 2, squad leader Chris McCann. Chris is in his first year on the team, and uniquely he was taken from training and straight into an instructor role on the Tucano. After which he then joined the world famous 617, the Dambusters Squadron, flying the Tornado GR4, where he received an Air Force Cross for service over Afghanistan. His opposite number on the left-hand side is Red 3, Flight Lieutenant. Red 4 and 5 as all the left and right sections either side of that centre step make their way rearwards for the next formation. And November 2020 was the 20th anniversary of the wonderful and majestic shape of the iconic Concorde. Once again, the team pull up at over 450 miles per hour. The expertise of the pilot showing maintaining formation in a looping manoeuvre. Not only that, we make it even more difficult as we change the shape from Concorde into Cygnet. The aircraft now slowing to over 120 miles an hour at the top of that loop, 5,500 feet up. The controls being a lot less responsive. The pilot's working extremely hard to maintain that formation. Conversely now, this aircraft is starting to accelerate to 200, 300, 400 miles per hour as Red 1 brings the Cygnet formation around to the left. At the back start to split. All the pilots now looking left and right down their left hand and right hand shoulders towards red 1. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Blackpool, get your cameras ready for the colourful Phoenix. In the middle of that right wing is red 4, right Alex. He's in his second year at the team. He was red 4 last year. He remained as red 4 and took up the role affectionately known as Uncle Edith. This means he is a mentor, works alongside red 1 during winter training to ensure that the pilots attain and maintain on that front row on the left hand side is Flight Lieutenant George Hodday. Red 5 in his first year on the team. He's a former Typhoon pilot and flown operations over Syria and Iraq, as well as the Eastern European Air Policing Patrol in the face of the aggressive Russia. But of course, the Red Arrows is not just about the pilots. We have a team of over 140 persons on trail on the rest of the formation for one of the most popular, if not the most popular manoeuvre the Red Arrows fly. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get your cameras ready. It's the Tornado! The broad call is made from Red 9 as Red 8 and 9 roll around the smoke of the rest of the formation. But watch that colour change as Red 1 brings the team around down the line. Gas temperature, and that makes the smoke colours burn a lot more brightly. In addition to that, it disturbs the airflow inside the back of the aeroplane and makes that smoke billow a lot more fuller, and therefore in certain manoeuvres in the show we'll use it to enhance those manoeuvres. As we go into the second half, you'll now see a manoeuvre not flown since 2003. Get your cameras ready, it's the 5-4 split. And the team now break down into two distinct sections. Going off to the right you have Reds 1 through 5. They are now known as Enid, named after Enid Blyton's famous 5 from the children's books. Off to the left for the 5-4 cross. Keep your eye on Enid to the left hand side. The Red Arrows were formed in 1964 with our first public display in 1965. And we were actually formed from 3 different teams who were around at the time. The Red Pelicans, the Black Arrows and the Yellow Jacks. We took the red from the Red Pelicans, the arrows from the Black Arrows, and we took the aircraft from the Yellow Jacks. And in celebration and commemoration to that aircraft, from the right, Enid flying the Gnat. The Red Arrows continued to fly the Gnat right the way up until 1980, when we took control of the Hawk T Mark 1, which is the aircraft that we still fly today. The Hawk itself is 50 years old this year. It's an extremely agile and extremely fun aircraft to fly, one of the favourites of all the pilots that fly it, and are perfect for the job that the Red Arrows require them to do. It's the Hannah break! We have Red 7 and 8 to our left hand side, then 6 and 9 to our right hand side. Red 7 off our right, Red 7 is squad leader Tom do not want to miss. The smoke comes on for the world famous Synchro Heart. And coming in from the top right hand side, you might just be able to see Red 8 as he smokes and spears the heart. Red 8 is Flight Lieutenant Rich Walker, former Harrier pilot, former Typhoon pilot, and instructor on the Hawk Team Mark 2. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Red 6, 7 and 8 a massive round of applause for the wonderful heart in the skies of Blackpool. And I personally would like to dedicate today's heart to my parents, Carol and Keith, who are sitting just on the front to my left-hand side. Lovely lots, Mum and Dad. They'll pass each other with only 30 metres and go unsighted at the last possible second for opposition barrel roll. Once again, pulling up at over 450 miles per hour. Red 1 will twist them around to the right. Once again, get your cameras ready for the Vixen vertical break.
Okay.
You're right.
Level 63, on the way down before rolling the correct way up to complete the manoeuvre we call the boomerang. A barrel roll manoeuvre, leaving a snake-like smoke trail in the sky in the first part of a manoeuvre we call the Serpent. As the team come past, you can really see our world famous red, white and blue. That red, white and blue is only capable due to the smoke pod, which is the small tank under the belly of the aeroplane. That smoke pod is capable of producing approximately 5 minutes of white smoke, with the Enid in tango formation.
Right, let's go home.
Enid going to our left, 45, coming in from the left, just off at 6 now, has to push and then start to roll to do an inverted barrel roll. Red 6 now working hard against the negative key. That means all the blood now is rushing into his head. Working hard as Red 7, 8 and 9 hold on to his wing to complete the manoeuvre called mirror roll. Here, the smoke coming on from Enid. 2 and 3 roll goers. 2 and 3 roll to the outside. Clear goes Reds. 4 and 5 roll to the outside in one of the hardest manoeuvres for our new pilots to master this year. This is the rollback. In the sky to celebrate 60 display seasons of the Red Arrow. finest style. Built near Chester in May 1945. No operational service. Keeping aircraft such as this flight is a gargantuan task. There's that generous Bombay I was talking about. Vickers Wellington, example goes down the road here, it's White Gate. Here it is, in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, John Horrell.
39 Aviation is established at Blackpool. It's developing as a regional centre for jet warbirds, and this is their flagship. It was widely used by Soviet bloc air forces, and in a much regenerated form is still in production. It was recently completed a and in recent years the type has proved very popular with contractors who are supplying target facilities for NATO aircraft. Local pilot John Hurrell, the L-39 Albatross. And you'll be seeing more of John in a very different sort of trainer later on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we saw 9 red jets earlier.
See that will help me.
The aircraft is a Vans RB8, 180 horsepower. Piston engine, give you about 220 miles per hour. You can build it in a garage, all metal construction, thousands upon thousands of rivets. Displays in Europe, France, Spain, Portugal, amongst others this year. And we're very happy to have them in front of us now. As Squadron Leader Graham Muscat was saying, Red 10, formation flying is about following the leader. Keeping the aeroplane choreography of 3 dimensions in front of you. Just like the Reds, the Ravens can break. Now what's that smoke, ladies and gentlemen? At the moment we've got something like an 8 knot on crowd wind. That means the Ravens are having to fight being permanently blown towards us, and that's not a safe thing. Raven 1 is Simon Sid Shirley, ex-Royal Air Force fast jet, including Tornado, F3s and service in the Balkans in 1990s. Sid Shirley could fly jets before he could drive, he tells me here. Enter another role. Raven 2 is Pete Wells, self-confessed air junkie. 6,000 hours, all on tail draggers. He went solo on his 16th birthday. Raven 3 is Barry Gwynett, experienced general aviation pilot. Had a private pilot's license for 36 years. Flies a Piper Pawnee as a glider tug. And just to give his hand in, is rebuilding a Starduster in his garage. As we twist around the main formation, Raven 4 is Gerald Williams, who was originally a professional rugby player. You meet him, you will know that. I'm pilot, but I assure you, if he's flying you to a holiday destination, he won't be flying like this. Get your cameras ready, ladies and gentlemen. Back on the stick. Here goes the brake. And again. Now brakes.
Your eyes.
That's love. There goes Cupid. I think that deserves a round of applause. Meanwhile, in the north, and now we begin a tail change. Each machine slotting back into its position. They roll out now. On with the smoke. And now we start the twizzle. Here comes the break. How's that for a sculpture in the sky?
20 minutes ago I strapped Richard into the aircraft. It's actually strange, normal harnesses aren't sufficient. We have to ratchet strap Richard into the aircraft so he can maintain control while upside down and all these manoeuvres. Richard is ratchet strapped into that aircraft.
Here we go. The smoke is on. That's a knife edge. They've got the wrong soundtrack on. That is a jet.
Yes, there are two AMT jet turbine engines additional to the piston engine that you can hear, giving it a power ratio more than the weight of the aircraft.
So this machine can become a helicopter if it feels like it.
It can climb vertically and it can hover.
Now, we're looking around at the crowd and they're all transfixed, and I don't blame them. So where are these jets?
Bolted both sides, to the left and to the right of the cockpit, about mid-stream, so there's no thrust vectoring required. If they were below the aircraft, we'd have to tilt the jets, but they're about mid-plane and they supply the power equally and very harmonically.
And I take it we're looking at a unique aeroplane.
Richard wanted to bring a unique aircraft to the air shows. You, the audience, you want to see something different. So over the last 4 years, we've developed an aircraft which is completely and totally unique for you people here today.
awesome. Now, the airframe itself is not stock Pitts S1, is it?
It's a Pitts S2E, and there's nothing, you know, the wings are modified, the tailplane is modified, the rudder is modified, all for bigger flight controls. The aircraft actually is quite heavy at the moment. It uses 60 litres of fuel in just a 10 minutes display. So the aircraft is quite heavy at the moment. In about, as we come to the end of the display, the aircraft is a lot lighter. It's a different animal, and then we can do the hovering manoeuvres.
Colin, you were telling me about three fuel tanks.
Indeed, we have obviously aviation jet fuel for the turbine engines. We have the avgas, the gasoline for the petrol engine, but we also need another tank for the smoke oil to create the smoke you see coming out the back.
And you get all of that inside such a diminutive biplane.
It's a very complicated aircraft. It's like a micro brewery in there. As you saw then, we used different types of thrust, so we could actually open one jet to the fore on the right, and therefore we could do two thick manoeuvres then with differential thrust from the two jet engines.
So we're talking asymmetrics on this?
Indeed, yes. So here we'll be coming into one of the first of the hovering manoeuvres. The aircraft will be slowed to a very high alpha altitude, and then the aircraft will be virtually stationary in the sky.
There is another aeroplane later on in this display that can do that sort of thing, but it costs billions.
Yes, this is developed by Richard himself. He's put most of the money and effort, along with the sponsors, of course, Aerobytes we couldn't work without. But yeah, this is his own project. He's a man I've not met any other so enthusiastic about what he's doing and his performances.
I take it working on this aeroplane is, in one, satisfying and challenging.
It's challenging because it's quite a new aircraft, therefore we have to study and monitor all the safety aspects of the airframe as it's put through its quite a high stress load. I'm going to actually try and create a Christmas tree in the sky. So as we see soon, he'll come back down low, then he'll spiral upwards, come to the top as a star at the top of the tree, and then do a spiral loop down to the centre to make the stem of the tree. Difficult in these conditions, but let's see if he can do it.
So as I was saying before, we've got at least an 8-knot on-crowd wind. He's got to take that into account all the way through building this picture.
as you see, that's the base of the tree, and he'll now climb with full thrust of the engines and try and come to a halt at the top to become the star at the top of the tree. This is what I need to be able to do. And then when he comes to a halt at the top, he'll then do a flat spin and create the trunk of the tree. Some days it looks fantastic, the conditions of the wind are going to blow the tree away today, but I've seen it and it's fantastic in nil wind conditions.
Colin, nobody here is in the slightest upset. This is incredible.
And that's the trunk of the tree. It's used 60 litres of jet fuel, and so now we're going to more hovering manoeuvres with a much lighter aircraft.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, yell, clap, Rich Goodwin, the Jet Pits. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember that departure. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks also, engineer beyond belief, if you're looking after that aeroplane, Colin Hales, that was superb. Thank you so much for totally enriching that display. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we all deserve one more round. Rich Goodwin, Colin Hales.
And with that departure,
Catalinas were flown widely by the United States Navy and also by Coastal Command. Ultra long-range flying boat designed to hunt Japanese and German submarines or patrol and look for people. There's a tricycle undercarriage as well. Very, very adaptable, beautiful aeroplane. Ladies and gentlemen, the magnificent plain sailing Catalina.
Please pass it down, please.
This machine is designed for very long-range patrol, and I'm talking 12, 14, and occasionally 16-hour patrols. That huge wing, designed by a man called Davis, and also designed the ultra-long thin wing on the B-24 Liberator, is basically a flying fuel tank. To engage with those beautiful radial engines. So you need those engines as far up as you could possibly get them. Now you can do that with a very, very deep fuselage, like the Sunderland flying boat that Coastal Command used during World War II. But here you can see what they've done is put the wing up and the engines up as far away from that boat-like hull by putting them on a very large pylon, giving it a unique shape from the spray as possible. As you come back to ground, you'll see that behind the wing on the fuselage are two very large bulbous observation areas, as from the wingtips down come the tip floats that give the aeroplane balance in the water. Take a look at the bottom of the hull. Do we call it fuselage? Flying bird? Could be either. You'll see that it has V shape, just like you see on a motorboat. Look at that beautiful, beautiful machine. By Canadian Vickers in Quebec, and ordered for the Royal Canadian Air Force. It served after the war as a fire bomber, scooping water off the sea and dropping it on forest fires in Canada and then in France and back to Canada. This machine is painted as Miss Pickup. It's the 5th emergency rescue service that were based at Haleswood in Essex. And in 1944, this very machine that is painted as was trying to rescue a P-51 Mustang, of which we'll see one later. The pilot was in the water in a raft, and the Catalina landed alongside. But the sea state was so bad, the Catalina, having rescued the pilot of the P-51, couldn't take off. I take it back to 1944. This is March 1945. Having squandered in the water for some time, the aeroplane saw an amazing aircraft go overhead, sounding a bit like a jet Pitts that we saw before. It was a Messerschmitt 262, twin-engine jet of the Luftwaffe, which promptly shot the Catalina up and sunk it. Suddenly, the rescuers and the rescued needed rescuing. Fear not, the Great Yarmouth lifeboat went out and rescued P-51 pilot and the crew of Miss Pickup. Now, last month, this machine was on a very special mission. It went up to Sullom Voe on the Shetland Islands, which was where Coastal Command Catalinas were based, and made incredibly long-ranging patrols up towards Iceland. And up there, while it was in Sullom Voe, they commemorated several VCs and had the privilege of meeting a surviving, still 104-year-old veteran of Coastal Command. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the incredible consolidated Catalina from plain sailing, Put your hands together and wave. They will see you. Magnificent. Goes back to Blackpool Airport. Has a nose wheel, and two enormous main wheels will pop out from the side of the fuselage and bring our flying boat down on terra firma.
No, he's making a joke, but he doesn't realise that the word he used was the word for German airport.
No, I know that. Look what they want,
Coming in front of you are Chipmunk duo. Based at wonderful Blackpool Airport. These lovely machines, stemming from the early 1950s, represent what was in 1945 Mission Impossible. The Royal Air Force put out a specification, a need for an aeroplane to replace the venerable, much-loved de Havilland Tiger Moth biplane trainer. The aircraft that won was what you see in front of you, the de Havilland Canada Chipmunk. De Havilland's Canadian offspring developed this beautiful aeroplane, and the prototype flew for the first time in 1946. It entered Royal Air Force service in 1949. And now here's an interesting factoid. Let's do it. Bless you, Steve Wright. Here's a factoid. Entered service with the Royal Air Force 1949. Two de Havilland Chipmunks are still in Royal Air Force service with the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight at Coningsby in Lincolnshire. Chipmunks were used with the Canadians and the Brits. For basic flying training, and also with the extensive organisation of university air squadrons and air experience flights, and also for basic training with the Army Air Corps and the Fleet Air Arm. Over 1,200 were built in Canada, in the United Kingdom, and in Portugal. It's an oversimplification to say that the chipmunk is a tiger moth without the upper wing, but they certainly have similar qualities. The Havilland Gypsy Major engine in this case, 145 miles per hour. Oh, sorry, 145 miles per hour, or thereabouts. As you can see, fully aerobatic. There must be countless pilots who owe their first guy to the chipmunk. 114 Squadron, observing terrorist forces. But its main claim to fame when it comes to military operations is a fascinating part of the Cold War. Under the Potsdam Accord, the air corridors into beleaguered Berlin could be flown and policed by the occupying powers. That was Great Britain, the United States and France. So at Gatow in Berlin, the Royal Air Force faced a couple of chipmunks, and they were there from 1953 to 1989, and it was described that they were there to prove the right to fly around the airspace and through the corridors. Throughout that time, the man in the back seat, who not only was there to make sure they did not stray out of the corridors, because if they did, they'd find a MiG on their wing, but that man also had a very high-powered camera and was busy clicking away at Soviet and East German installations on either side of their track. The fall of the Berlin Wall, this clandestine operation was no longer needed. And now powering in to join up. Our two chipmunks come together. A lovely performance by two venerable aircraft. The Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight. I hope that's tingling the hairs on the back of your neck. Wonderful. Flying the Spitfire today is Graham Pemberton and the Mustang Alistair Steg Williams. Incredible Mark 14 Spitfire from 1943. So, our two split. And as the Mustang node its nose, then it made the famous flute-like sound in the edge of its wing. Saw active service from... There you are, there's the Mustang turning itself into a musical instrument again. The Spitfire last served with the temperature and humidity flight as a meteorological data gatherer at Wood Vale, just down the road of Southport. Retired in April 1952, no less. Was transferred to the Biggin Hill Station flight, which in 1957 became the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. The Mustang was built in 1944 at Dallas, Texas. It has an American Packard-built Merlin, which the Americans call the V1650. 1960. Then with a civil operator in Canada in 1968, and it served in Norway with a civilian until from 1980. Been in the UK ever since. And it provides a perfect foil against that beautiful Mark 19 Spitfire. Prototype first flying March 1936. Sadly, he never got to see another Spitfire. He died of leukemia, but his legend lives on. Now the Mustang, Cadillac of the skies as the Americans call it, was developed for the Royal Air Force. The Royal Air Force, late 1940, Britain and its allies were up against incredible odds, and they asked the North American Aviation Company to put a fighter together. They did so in 117 days, and the prototype P-51 took Allison B-1710. And the Royal Air Force were, shall we say, mightily disappointed. The guys at Rolls-Royce and Putnell in Nottinghamshire put a Merlin on a Mustang in 6 weeks in 1942, and suddenly the P-51 was an incredible fighter.
Hold on.
Now I'm perpetually asked, which is better, the Spitfire or the Mustang? The best way to answer that question is they were both conceived to fly the same roles as fighters, but there were different answers to the same question. Both are truly superb. Both were commissioned by Great Britain, and both were powered by Rolls-Royce. So yes, if you want me to answer which is the best, Spitfire or the Mustang, bring me a fence and I'll sit on it.
How's Grace George?
He'll see you wave. Aeroplane that is absolutely contemporary with the Spitfire and the Mustang that you've just seen, and an aeroplane that was in production throughout the war years. When it gets here, you're going to think, surely not. It is a venerable aeroplane indeed, and a very, very historic one. And its pilot, Lieutenant Commander Glenn Allison, who's from Durham, and his aircraftman, Paul Collicott, are on their way in. And as they said, our aeroplane, if it's against the wind, could well take some time to get here. So get your calendars out, folks. It better, but it just comes out the same. It's built by the Fairey Aviation Company. And as you can see, it is a beautiful, beautiful, big, big, big biplane. The black and white stripes, ladies and gentlemen, are in celebration or commemoration of this year's 80th anniversary of D-Day. All Allied aeroplanes that were in the operational area had those big black and white stripes painted on them to avoid friendly fire, shall we say, make them stand out. Ladies and gentlemen, the Swordfish was feared throughout the war by the Italian and the German navies. This machine was designed simply to kill warships. It may look antiquated, it may look lumbering, but it's exactly what's needed over hostile seas to track and find and put a torpedo in the water. One of these biplanes effectively took out the Italian battle fleet at Taranto harbour, and the way they did it was in such a manner that the Japanese were inspired to conceive Pearl Harbor. Going in low and slow and dropping their torpedoes, the enemy anti-aircraft fire remarkably could not get a bead on them. The havoc they wreaked was exceptional. And then in 1941, it was a Swordfish that put paid to the Bismarck. Its torpedo only just clipped the mighty battle cruiser, but it clipped it sufficiently to disable the rudder, allowing the Royal Navy to finish it off. This machine was built by Blackburn at Sherburn in Elbert in Yorkshire in 1941 and carries the markings of an 820 Squadron, Naval Air Squadron Swordfish that was indeed involved in the attack on the Bismarck.
Big biplane, wasn't it? Biplane?
Swordfish operated in the most arduous conditions from small aircraft carriers in the Atlantic and on the Arctic convoys. Their aircrew had to be prepared to operate from tiny aircraft carrier decks that were pitching, yawing and rolling. Used to fly together on commando configured Westland Sea King helicopters, and they crewed the Swordfish. On the Beechcraft Avenger, aircrew trainer, while Paul, he serves on Merlin helicopters from Yeovilton. This sunshine, this sunshine. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, that was wonderful. I'm sure photographers all over the place are enjoying this fantastic glint off the sea, but also off the wings of the aeroplanes. It's going to be a short gap now before our next machine. That gap. Slow and fast. Come on, feel the noise. Power comes from a pair of Eurojet EJ200 turbofans, 40,000 pounds of static thrust. Now my mathematics, which is never good, tells me that the Typhoon has the power of 24 Spitfires. shape, the 4 frames on the nose. I'm not going to give you many stats on this aeroplane, but here's a few. Rate of roll, phenomenal. Rate of climb, phenomenal. Agility, phenomenal. You get the picture? Now that's what 700 miles an hour looks like. Now this is the high alpha I was talking about. Totally fly-by-wire controls. It can do things that no other aeroplane can do. Holding itself at low speed, totally controllable. Pulling away by putting the torches on the afterburner. is moving the air so much it's condensing the humid air into vapour trails. Coming round now, keep your eye on this. Now you've seen that departure before with the jet pits, but I assure you Flight Lieutenant David Turbo Turnbull is not frightening the bejeebers out of that airliner up there. Ladies and gentlemen, what a way to depart. Put your hands together. Air traffic holding, tell Turbo that. Brilliant stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, should you so wish, we do it all again tomorrow. Lots to see and do. Please stagger your journey home.